Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be going over and showing you how to install the BAKFlip MX4 Hard Tonneau cover here on our 2021 Ram 1500. So there's really two main types of tonneau covers. We have soft tonneau covers and we have hard tonneau covers. Now this is a hard tonneau cover here. And what hard tonneau covers do a great job is they're much more durable than the soft tonneau covers, and they also provide more security. But they are going to cost you a little bit more. The soft tonneau covers, they're more cost effective, and they don't provide as much security, because let's face it, if we just had some sort of tarp on here, what's to stop someone from coming up here with a knife and just cutting that tarp and getting what they need out of there? With the hard tonneau cover, that's really not an option. With the tailgate locked, you can't actually open the cover there, therefore you're not going to be able to get anything out of the truck bed. So speaking more of the durability of this particular cover here, so these panels are actually made out of aluminum and they have a foam core, which is, again, if we go ahead and just knock on them, you can see these are actually pretty stout and they can even hold up to 400 pounds evenly distributed. So overall, the durability of this hard tonneau cover here, it's really going to last the lifetime of the truck. Chances are you can't transfer it to the new truck because they are kind of specific to the truck, but nonetheless, they will last a lifetime of your particular truck you're installing it on. So some flaws or preferences that you may not like that you run into with some of the other hard tonneau covers is that they actually stick up above the bed rail quite significantly. So this is not only unsightly, it also kind of cuts down on the aerodynamics of your truck. But the MX4 here, it is very flush. It only sticks up past the bed, I would say maybe 1/4 inch or so. It definitely has a very low profile design, which overall blends in with our truck, makes it look really sleek, and not losing any effects of the aerodynamics. So this is actually a tri-fold hard tonneau cover. There are different types. They have some quad folding ones as well. So I like the tri-folds. Now in order to get in there, all we're going to do is simply lower the tailgate. And then we're going to have these little release strings here. They're underneath, they're on either side. We're going to pull those down, and then we can just begin flipping the panels back. So these actually automatically lock into place there on every section. You just continue pulling these little levers or these strings. And the great thing about a folding tonneau cover is we can actually secure it at different points on the truck bed. So it really depends on what we're hauling. We may not necessarily want to fold it completely open. Let's just say we have something taller that we need to haul. Put it towards the back of the bed here. We can lock the panel in one of these positions, close our tailgate and head off down the road. Or if we really need an open truck bed, as you can see here, we can just fold the panels all the way up to the cab here, and then we can actually lock it in place with our prop rod mechanism. Just simply align that rod there with the keeper, tighten this down, and now we can actually drive with our truck bed completely open. So adding a tonneau cover to your truck bed, it's a great way to really utilize the real estate back here with the protection from the elements. So a big concern with most tonneau covers that people have is they're wondering if water is going to get in the truck bed. Now, I wouldn't go so far to say is the cover is waterproof, because I don't think any tonneau cover manufacturer can actually advertise that, but it is going to be highly water resistant. All of our rails here have a very tight fit on the sides here. There's built-in gaskets. They're really going to do a great job of stopping water from getting in. Even on the cover itself, there's tons of extra overlapping rubber flaps here. They're just going to overall help water to get out. And if they do get between the panel here and the rail, there's actually a built-in drainage system. If we look in the bottom here, our water is going to funnel down to this point here and then exit the truck bed, keeping all of our contents in the actual bed safe from water or damage. So in regards to installation, this is definitely something you guys can do at home by yourselves. You don't need to pay anyone to do this for you. They definitely make it beginner friendly, no matter your experience level. We will need one tool, a 9/16 inch wrench or a ratchet in a socket. It doesn't really matter. But aside from that, everything is pretty straightforward. As we said, definitely beginner friendly. We'll actually walk you through this entire process step by step now. Give yourselves around an hour or two to get it done. So the first part of our installation, we need to install our bulkhead seal. Now keep in mind, the bulkhead seal is only required on bare truck beds, or if you have a spray-in bed liner. If you have one of those plastic drop-in bed liners, you won't need to install this. So this is what our bulkhead seal looks like installed. Now it is very easy to install. It just has an adhesive backing on one side. You remove the protective tape and then you can just stick it to the bulkhead. Now you want to stick it to the edge closest to the bed here, the end of the bed. What I mean by that is you want to stick it on this edge here, which is closest to the tailgate, not this edge here, which is closest to the cab. But you'll just simply place it on there, press it down so the adhesive sticks there, and you can cut off any extra that you have on the ends. So now that we have our bulkhead seal installed, we're ready to begin installing our rails. So we're going to be grabbing the rail on the driver's side. Doesn't matter what you start with, but we are going to start with the driver's side. There should be a sticker inside the rail here labeled L for left, left of the driver. So we're going to take this rail here. The silver bracket portion is going to be installed up towards the cab. But before you do any of this, you actually want to close your tailgate. So we'll go ahead and take our rail here and just place it over the top of the bed rail. There's actually a lip here that's going to lip over the bed rail just like so. Now you're going to use one hand to hold it here. So make sure it's nice and flush to the top of the bed. We're going to use one hand to hold it, and then the other hand we're going to use to secure the clip underneath. So the way this works is there's going to be actually grooves on the bottom of the rail. They're going to match up with the grooves here on these clamps. So we're just going to reach up and under, and it's going to pretty much sandwich the rail to the bottom of the bed seam there. So we're going to measure about 6 to 8 inches to place this first clamp. You don't have to be exact, just anywhere in that range. And then we'll go ahead and secure it using a 9/16 inch socket. So keep in mind, this is actually an aftermarket accessory that this neighbor installed here, so you're not going to have this rail in your way. So just try to disregard this as best as you can, but the installation will be the same. So we've got our clamp into position now. I'm using one hand to put pressure downward on the top of the rail so it's flush with the truck bed, and then I'm using one finger to sort of hold the clamp into position, but then we'll come back with our 9/16 inch socket and snug it down. So now we're going to come to about the center point of our rail here, and we're going to install our second clamp. Now you do want to make sure that you're pushing these clamps all the way up to the bottom of the rail, so you want to make sure it grips as much of that lip as possible. And again, we need to ensure that we're putting downward pressure there on the rail the entire time when we're tightening it. Now we have our last clamp here at the rear that we'll place approximately 6 inches away from the tailgate. So now that we have all of our fasteners snug on this side, we'll come back and we'll tighten everything an additional quarter turn. That's going to get us to around the correct torque spec. If you guys have a torque wrench, you can actually use the torque spec provided in the instructions, but it's really not needed. So just come back with a wrench and just snug everything up, then give it an extra quarter turn. But we've got the driver's side rail done. We're going to go ahead and repeat that same process over on the passenger side. So here's just a better look to really show you guys what we meant when we need this rail here to be flush to the top of the bed rail. You can see there's going to be no gaps underneath there. And what this does is it ensures we have a nice watertight seal so we don't have to worry about any water getting into the truck bed. So now with an extra set of hands that we've got both rails installed, we're ready to take the cover and set it into position. Now you want to make sure that this small little flap here is facing the cab, because what we're actually doing is if we lift this up, you can actually see some studs coming down through the bottom of there. This is going to line up with those metal brackets that we showed you a little bit ago. When it closes, it's going to line up with that oblong slot, and then we'll secure underneath here in a second. But basically, we're just going to set the panels into the vehicle here. It should lock into the tracks. If not, you may need to maneuver it a little bit. And then we want to push it forward or backwards in order to better line up that stud within that hole in the bracket. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install our buckles here. So you can do this with the cover off the ground, but I actually just like to do it within the truck bed. It's a little bit more stable, easier to work with. But basically how this works is you're going to flip this little flap open. You're going to have two holes here that you're going to put your machine screws through. And then you're going to drop your buckle into place and then thread in your screws to the other end. So these are actually keepers. So there's a little threaded well in there. and the machine screws screw into those, so you just need a Phillips head screwdriver, just line up your holes, tighten everything down, and you have one on each side. So now that we're ready to secure the cover, we want to make sure that it is in the correct position. So we roughly aligned it earlier, but what we need to pay attention to now is this little flap here on the small panel in the bulkhead seal. You want to make sure that this flap here overlaps that bulkhead seal, therefore we get a nice tight seal so no water gets in. So now we can jump underneath the cover here and secure these little threaded studs to this metal bracket. So what we're going to do first is we're going to place a rubber washer over there. We're going to follow that up with a flat washer, and then we're going to place on a split lock washer, and then finally our thumb screw. So we're going to go ahead and get this one on, then we'll jump over to the other side and do that same thing. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to unfold the cover all the way to the rear here. We're going to check fit at the tailgate. So number one, we obviously want all the clips to lock into place there, and we want to be able to shut the cover with the tailgate up. But we also need to make sure that this metal slat here on the end of the panel overlaps the tailgate there. We don't want any gaps, because if there is any gaps, that's how water is going to get in. So if yours isn't quite square, that's perfectly fine. What we're going to do is we'll just loosen those thumb screws, and then we can pull the cover back or push it forward more towards the cab. Basically just push or pull in the direction that we need in order to get that tight seal with the overlap. So I think we got a pretty good fit here with ours, so I'm going to go head back under the truck bed there. So next we're going to be installing our drain tube. So this is what the drain tube looks like, and luckily on this particular vehicle it's very easy. We don't have to cut any holes. So we can take either end here, it doesn't matter. We're going to place it on the nipple coming from the rail there. Just a friction fit, so just push it on there so it's nice and snug. And then the other end here, normally you'd have to drill a hole in your truck bed or find an existing grommet. This one, we actually already have a pre-drilled hole we can use right next to that tie down. So we may need to flatten the end of the hose a little bit, but we'll just stick it through there, just like so. And we have one of these on each side. So the next thing we're going to do is install our little rubber bumpers. So these are what they look like, and similar to that bulkhead seal, we're going to have foam on this side, and the other side is going to have that adhesive, so you'll just peel off the backing and stick it to this panel here. We're going to be using the second panel from the tailgate. You're going to install it on the metal portion of the rail. Now we need to make sure that we have 3 total. The 2 outside ones need to be no closer than 1 inch to the edge of the rail, so it has to be more than 1 inch away from the edge here. And you'll just simply stick them on there like so. And again, we have 3, 1 on each side, 1 in the middle. And then once we have them installed, we're actually just going to lift the panel up so we can see sort of where they rest. These are basically providing protection from the cover in the cab on our vehicle. So it actually hits first in the center one. The 2 on the outside are just a fail safe, but as you can see here, it rests on the glass, so we don't have to worry about the cover swinging open, hitting the back glass and causing damage or breaking it. Now we're going to install our prop rod holder bracket. So the actual rod with this little pivot bracket should already be installed. What you guys are going to have to do is clip the keeper into place on the rail. So there's kind of like a C-shaped clamp on there, and it basically just presses into the fit on the bottom of the rail here, and then it rotates forward and back like so. And this is just simply used to secure the prop rod, just like that. And as well, we have one on each side. So with our prop rod secure, that's going to finish up our look and installation of the BAKFlip MX4 Hard Tonneau cover here on our 2021 Ram 1500.